Hey guys, welcome to a new video. It's another language piece. It's about vocabulary, and it's vocabulary that's so important when we look at, sorry, I had an itch there, when we look at the relational context in which we find ourselves. And here's the thing. This is probably too simplistic. My desire would not be to oversimplify and make big generalized statements about how people engage. But there is a pattern, a trend that shows up in counseling quite often when people come and there's relational distress happening. The verbiage that I use is that we run into people sometimes who have to be both the victim and the hero in whatever story is going on. So if they're going through a hard time, they're going to tell you why it's everyone else's fault. And if there's some sort of solution, they become the hero. They tell you all the ways that they kind of persevered and overcame. But you might see this pattern show up again and again and again. So it could be just, everyday things at work. So-and-so is causing problems, but they rise above it and they do A, B, and C, and they still, talk crap about the situation, but they talk about their role in kind of being the hero in the situation. Or let's say there's some sort of financial breakdown that happens and they sit there and they lament, someone did this to me, if my boss just paid me more, or if this just happened. And then somehow the situation is solved and they talk through how they were the one who were triumphant. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible that people have struggle and someone else has contributed to it. I'm not saying it's not possible that people don't overcome situations, but I do want to encourage you, and I look in my own life for the trend of, does the person in front of me in their story, in their narrative, continually have to be the victim and the hero? That's important for you to understand. And what I really want to encourage you to do is look at why that particular dynamic is such an issue and why change is probably not going to be happening in that dynamic. And for that, we turn to Adlerian psychology. So I read a book not long ago. I really like it. I think it would be a lightning rod for controversy, but it's called The Courage to Be Happy. And it's from a Japanese author, and it's a conversation between an Adlerian philosopher and a student, and they go back and forth wrestling through some of Adler's ideas. And in that, they talk about this pyramid of questions that gets asked. And these are important questions that we need to be asking about the people with whom we intersect. But probably more importantly, we have to be asking about ourselves. Are these the places where I camp out? So up on the board here, I have the triangle of questions. And the questions are, sorry, they're not questions, they're statements. So I redact that, but they're statements and they're still really helpful. Does someone sit in the space long-term of woe is me? So the question could be, are they sitting in the statement of woe is me? Do they sit long-term in the statement of it's so-and-so's fault? And maybe with that victim and that hero language, we vacillate between the two. This is happening to me, it's someone's fault. This is happening to me, it's someone's fault. And we continually camp out in those two spheres. Someone that we know is healthy, someone that we know is active in their life, there has to be a next step. Because we're all going to have woe is me moments. We're all going to have moments of, hey, X, Y, and Z happened to me and I'm feeling some emotions about it. But the reality is we've got to look at now what? So X, Y, and Z has happened. Woe is me, and something has gone on where someone's done something to me and I'm feeling frustrated about it. But now what? And if you're with someone or you're that person who doesn't get to the now what and then come up with an action plan to move forward, there's a very good chance that you're the victim and the hero in the story. There's a very good chance that you're not necessarily emotionally well, that you're not active in your own life. But I also want to give you the vocabulary of, if other people are showing up in your story and continuing to be the persecuted one, the narrative is continually that their life happens to them. Chances are they're camping out in these two areas. They're camping out with the understanding that they're the victim, and when something goes right, it's because they're the hero. Those are not people who actually want to change, because the change is when we ask, now what? So it's true. So you've been persecuted. So something's been done to you. What do we do with that information? Where do we go from here? If you want to camp out and vacillate between those two places, there isn't forward movement. Now, I will say the caveat is there are systemic things that happen that do oppress people, and this message is not in that context. This message is at the micro level, person to person. When you're in a relational dynamic, are you engaging with someone that has to be the hero and the victim? Are you engaging with someone that says, woe is me and it's so-and-so's fault? Or are you that person maybe? And if you need to move through that, you need to move into a new place of kind of taking ownership of your life and being active in your life. The question is, now what? Okay, these things are true. Now what do I do with that information?